Hello, I'm Michael Redmond, professional Go player. In this video, I'm going to show you an example game for the 9x9 board. This is the second video in a series of videos I'm going to make for beginners. So you've learned the rules, or if you haven't learned the rules, you can go back to my rules video. I'll put a link in the description, and probably up there somewhere I'll put a link. So assuming you've seen the rules, next you have to play. If you live in Eastern Asia, there's Go clubs all over the place, so it's easy. If you live in the West, or this video being taken in 2020, maybe you're afraid of going out in the midst of a pandemic or something. So in that case, I suggest you play on the net. There's a lot of good Go servers on the net where you can find an opponent and play a game. So it's a great place to start learning how to play Go. Actually, this board that I'm using to explain Go is on a server. It's on OGS, and it's a demo board there. So that's one server you can go to. You can just search for it on the internet and you will find it. So you're ready to play. I told you that you can play anywhere on the board. There is actually an etiquette thing for the first move. You're supposed to play in the upper right area. So this would be, usually the first move is played somewhere inside this, let's make it a full triangle, somewhere inside this triangle. On smaller boards, quite often you find yourself playing the first move in the center anyway. When the Go board does have a center, which would be the case if it's a 5x5 or a 7x7 board, it would have a center point. Quite often playing in the center of the board is a good idea with these smaller boards. That becomes less true as the boards get bigger, actually. But up to 9x9, it still is it's a good move. With 9x9, it's hard to say actually what the best first move is, but in this game I'm going to show you a game where black played the center point first. And you might remember one of the first rules that I told you, that would be rule number 2, is that if you surround your opponent's stones, you can capture them. So if white plays 4 moves and takes these 4 points, white would be able to capture this black stone here. But the players take turns playing stones, so it's not going to be so easy. It's black's turn. Looks like black also has ideas to surround that white stone. This white stone had 4 liberties, and 2 of them have been filled by the black stones. If black can fill these 2 other points, black will be able to capture that white stone. So this is the rule number 2 in action. And up to this point, both players are trying to attack each other. But you can see that in this race to capture, black usually does have an advantage because black is 1 move ahead. At this point, black has filled 3 of white's liberties and is about to capture the white stone. If black plays here, black will capture it and take it off the board. That's a very effective thing to accomplish. If you can take your opponent's stone and take it off the board, then that reduces white's stones on the board, and you can see that it makes the position look much more advantageous to black. So white played here. So this is an example of how you escape from this position. This position is actually called atari, which is a Go term which means that a stone is about to be captured. So this white stone, we would say it's in atari. Atari was a Go term before it became the name of a software developer. The way you escape from atari, you cannot move the stone. So it's not as if you can pick this white stone up and put it in a different part of the board. But you can save it by adding a stone to it. So when white plays here, it's right next to the white stone at D5. These 2 white stones are creating a group. When they create a group, they share the liberties. So when you add a stone to that white stone, and that stone, you might notice that this stone that is at C5 has 3 liberties. It's sharing those liberties with the stone next to it. So that's a great tactic, a great way to save a stone that's in danger, is to put a stone right next to it and enlarge it into a larger group. Black is attacking again. When you're first playing Go, sometimes it's difficult to see what's happening, but it's very important to notice when these stones are under attack. So right now it's this white stone that is under attack. So this extending or adding a stone to make a larger group, it works vertically as well as horizontally. It's just that that's the line extending from that white stone. That's the intersection where you put a stone to connect up to it. Anything right next to it is a connected stone. Black chased that. So black is still trying to fill the liberties of these two white stones. Now white plays here. Black's attack locally, it is sort of backfired because now this black stone is in atari. Here, this black stone is not going to survive. It's already dead. And I'll go into more detail towards the end of the game, but at this point black is already captured. So I'm not even going to try to save that stone. It's something I'll talk about later in this video and in other videos in more detail. So for the time being, just believe me when I say that black stone is dead. But losing a stone is not the end of the game. Basically, the player who has more space, more territory, is going to win. So when you think you might have lost a stone like this, and we're going to assume that black knows that that stone is dead, it's important to look at the surviving stones, the stones that are living, which are these stones. So these stones on the outside are what black should be focusing on here. And that while these two black stones are right next to each other, making a group, they're connected, the other two black stones are diagonal. And when your stones are diagonal like this, they are not connected yet. So it's a good idea for black to start connecting these stones up. Black played here. So this is a very reasonable move. It creates a group of 4 stones here, and they're forming a wall. When you have stones directly connected like this and they're forming a wall, the area next to that is starting to become a black territory. So this area is going to be black's territory on the right. White curls around. These white stones are forming a group, capturing the black stone here, and controlling this area in the upper left part of the board. And white is extending that towards the lower left corner. So white is going to add on this area to white's territory. That's white's plan here. Go games are made up of a lot of short-term plans as well as long-term plans. They're mixed into each other. Black extends, white covers, black extends also. Extending straight like this, it's often a good move. This black stone, if white had played here, this black stone would have been in atari. It would have been under attack, and white would have been threatening to play here and take it off the board like this. So this was a relatively vulnerable black stone, and it was a good idea for black to extend it like this and make it stronger. Now, I have the idea that this general area is going to be black's territory, and this general area is going to be white's territory. And when we come to this stage of the game, it's the end game of Go, and you look at the weaknesses in your barriers. So basically the open spaces. So that would be this area and this area. And it's a good general idea to protect the larger openings first. So black played here. So black is going to extend the wall to cover the second and first lines here. And white covers. White is also protecting this area in the upper left. Now black has to be careful because these two stones are not directly connected to each other yet. Always the diagonal is not yet connected, so it's important for black to connect once here, making a solid connection here. So the wall is pretty much established. There is one diagonal point here that I'm going to discuss later in this video. White has 2 areas that white is concerned with at this point, this area and this point. So white continues here. White is trying to get into black's territory. So white is heading into black's territory and maintaining a loose connection to white stones. Generally, if you play a move and it's completely disconnected with the rest of your stones, like something like this would be so, it's relatively easy for your opponent to surround it and eventually capture it. So it's quite often a good idea to be playing close to stones that you've already established as a strong group. And in this case, that would be this move, where white is loosely connected with these stones here. And white is trying to get into black's territory here. Naturally, black wants to stop white from doing that. So black will cover here. And this move is actually an attack on the one white stone. When white has a stone on the edge of the board like this, it has 3 liberties. So it's these 3 points that black must take to capture the white stone. That means that black is 1 move away from capturing this white stone. If black next plays here, then black will be able to capture this white stone, take it off the board. So white doesn't want that to happen. White can prevent that by playing that point, and these white stones, they're all connected now. So up to this point, white's connected. These 4 stones are connected. And as I said before, this black stone is actually dead. So I'll talk about that later in the video. So black played here. This is also an important move where black has to realize that these 2 stones are diagonal, which means they're not connected. And black has to add a stone here. If black had played elsewhere, for instance something like this, then white would be able to attack this diagonal by playing here, which is just called a cut. It's a cutting move. And this disconnects these 2 black stones. So it's cutting black off. And this black stone on the first line, it's in atari. It means white is 1 move away from capturing it by playing here. So if white does that, then you can see that the whole area here is pretty much gone. And black doesn't want that to happen. Just to back up 1 move, when white plays here, if black tries to escape, escaping when you're down on the first line is quite often very difficult because it's hard to get some extra liberties when you're on the first line of the board. Basically, if white chases from above, then at this point black still, this group of 2 black stones, only has the 1 liberty here. And if black continues running out, and white continues surrounding from above, again these 3 black stones, although they share liberties, the only open space is this one. So it only has 1 liberty. Black continues to run out. White continues to chase from above. Now you can see that this whole group of 4 black stones still only has 1 liberty. And when black ends up in the corner of the board like this, it's going to get even worse. So when black plays here, white can already take the stones off. So that was not good for black. Coming back to this point, it was important for black to notice that the 2 black stones here are not connected. They're diagonal, which means black has to add a stone to make them a solid connection. So now these 5 black stones are connected, and these 2, 4, 6 stones are connected too. And the weak point here is something I'll mention at the end of the video. It's not a big problem for black. Now white plays here, and again white is trying to get inside the black territory. It's very natural for black to block that. And now this white stone is under attack. It's an atari, which means that black can play here next to take it off the board, to capture it. The diagonal shape here was not a connection. It didn't save that white stone. So white connects. Now white has a solid connection here. And at this point, stronger players might say that the game is over now. They might finish the game at this point. Basically, the players have to agree that the game is over for it to end. So at this point, black has established a territory here with this line of stones surrounding this area. And white has established a territory on the left with this line of stones, making a boundary that black cannot cross, capturing the 1 black stone here, and the rest of white's territory is this area. So it's black's move. Maybe black wants to try to save this black stone. So we're going to try to do that. The problem with trying to save a stone that is not connected to your friendly stones, and it doesn't have any friendly stones in the immediate vicinity, it's relatively easy for your opponent to herd it towards the side of the board, and the black stones will run out of space. So when white plays here, black is in atari. The 2 black stones are 1 move away from being captured by a white move here, which would take these 2 black stones off the board. So black extends maybe, white chases. Black curls around. When black runs out of moves to extend the black group on the second line, now all black can do is move towards the edge of the board, and when black does that, the number of liberties that black has is not going to increase. For instance, if black goes straight towards the edge, then the group of 5 black stones only has 1 liberty there. And if black continues, then eventually black will just be captured. On the other hand, if black goes diagonally, one might remember that this diagonal is not a connected shape. So white can just attack the 4 black stones. And this diagonal was not a connection, so it's not going to save the black stones when white plays here and takes them off the board. So that just didn't work for black. So if black passes, and it's white's turn, maybe white's going to try to do something here. The problem with this move is very similar to what I showed before. Black can just chase this white group, this white stone, like this. And it doesn't have very much room to run away. The diagonal here is not a connected shape. So maybe white tries to run away in this direction, adding a stone to it, and black can just capture it. So that did not work either. Basically, when you have large groups like this that are forming connected shapes, and the same is true of black here, and they have a lot of liberties. The black group here has all these liberties, and the black group on the other side, this group also has 4 liberties. So when you have strong groups like this, one slight flaw in the wall, it looks like there's a flaw here when these 2 stones are diagonal, it's usually not a big problem. So finally, when the players agree to finish the game, they will count the score. And if you're doing this on the internet or with a Go playing program or something, an app, then it will happen automatically. But just to show you the mechanics of it, I'm going to start by saying that if the players agree that this black stone is dead, then it is taken off the board and it's going to reduce black's territory by 1 point. So white puts it inside black's territory. The black territory is counted by these points, you might remember. This is rule number 3 in the set of rules. And we're going to count these intersections inside black's territory. So that was 3 by 9 intersections. That's 27 points. 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. So black has 32 points. Let's use squares to count white. This part of white's territory was 2 by 5, so that's 10 points. And I can see 12 points here. That's 3 times 4, so that's 22, 23 points. So black had 32 points, and white has 23 points. Means black is winning by 9 points. Actually, there is a rule that people often use, is that there is a Komi, which is a handicap that black pays white to make up for the fact that actually playing the first move in this game does give black an advantage. And so black makes up for that by giving white a 6.5 point Komi, is what we call it. But it's a kind of a handicap that black gives back to white. And it makes it an even fight. So black has to win by 7 points or more. And so that's, when I say 6.5 points, that half point is to avoid a draw. So if it's only 6 points win for black, then that people would say that that's a half point win for white. And if it's a 7 point win for black, it would be a half point win for black. When it's 9 points difference here, black will now win by 2.5 points. So that's the result of this game. And it was an example of how your first game might be. So thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed. So if you did, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel if you want more. Thank you for watching.